Hello everyone, I am the Desert Gardener, and today we're going to be talking about gophers. So I've got my tea, let's get started. So this is actually my third video on gophers. The first two I put a bunch of internet myths to the test, and spoiler alert, almost none of them worked. There were actually only two methods that seemed to work pretty well, and there's a third method that I came up with myself since I filmed those two. That's why I decided to do an update video. Now, none of these methods are perfect. They all have their pluses and minuses, so I'm just going to quickly go over all three, and then I'm going to let you decide which one works best for you. Now, the first one is the trap method. Now, the upside is it's a permanent method. The downside is this is a kill method. Now, I really prefer not to kill if I can help it. I consider this would be something I'd only do as an absolute last resort, but I know some of you are going to want to do those methods. Now, there are a number of different traps on the market. Now, I like the Victor Easy Set trap. This one I think really works the best, and it should not be confused with the Victor gopher trap. This is junk, this does not work. Fortunately, they're pretty easy to tell apart. The Easy Set trap will actually say Easy Set on the package. It's silver, and it has two of these little set bars, whereas the regular one is green, and it only has one of these set bars. So stay away from that one. This one works much better. However, I do recommend adding a cord or a chain or something to the trap, and then you can stake this to the ground. Otherwise the gopher may pull this into the tunnel and you'll never see it again. So this is very helpful. Now, the next method is the catch and release method. Now, the upside to this is it's a permanent solution. The downside is it takes a lot more work. So what I do here is when I go out early in the morning or right around dusk, that's when gophers are the most active. And you need to find a gopher mound that is fresh, brand new. You can usually tell because the soil is still moist. And then you take a garden hose and you start poking it around inside that gopher mound, and you're looking for the tunnel. It's pretty easy to find. You'll find a soft spot and you'll push it in, and you just keep pushing the hose down in there until you open up the tunnel. And then I usually at this point take that extra dirt, push it down into the hole, and wash it down into the tunnel. And this clears everything up very nicely, and you have a good space to work with. Now, you're not trying to drown the gopher. That method really doesn't work. So you're going to turn the hose off at that point, and then you're going to wait. The gopher is going to notice that his hole has been breached, and he's going to show up and plug up that hole. It's at this point that you're going to turn the hose back on, and you're going to point the hose towards the hole. But don't put the hose in the tunnel. Keep it at least 6 inches above the surface, and just have the water going into the hole. What will usually happen is the gopher, being afraid that he's going to drown, is going to climb out of the hole. Now, gophers don't see very well in the sunlight, plus he's just been hit with a lot of water. So what happens is he gets kind of stunned, and he'll have about a good 30 seconds where he'll be stunned and just sitting there and not know what to do. So at this point you can take a gloved hand, pick him up, and put him in some sort of container. I usually just use a bucket, and you don't even need a lid for the bucket. Gophers don't jump, so you can just simply pick that bucket up and take it to some other location where you can let them loose. Now, it's important when you're looking for a location to set a gopher loose, make sure that there aren't any other gophers in the area. If you see other gopher holes or gopher mounds, go someplace else, because gophers are very territorial. So if you let one loose in an area where there's already gophers, they're going to fight and they're going to kill each other. So you're sort of defeating the no-kill process. So find a spot where it looks like they may have some food and there aren't any other gophers around. This seems to work pretty well. I've revisited areas where I've let gophers loose, and I've seen new mounds from the gopher presumably that I let loose. So I think he survived the move. So I think this is a good method. However, it's not terribly reliable and will take some extra work on your part. Now the third method is the smell method. Now I'll do the same thing with the hose and open up one of the tunnels, but then I'll shove something in the tunnel that the gophers don't like the smell of. Gophers have a pretty good sense of smell. Now normally I'll use dryer sheets. When dryer sheets are fresh, they have very strong smell. Gophers won't like the smell of it. What they'll do is they'll plug up that hole and start burrowing the other direction. Now this isn't perfect either, because you're not sure really how far he's going to go. You might just drive him to another part of your yard and you have to keep chasing him around. But it may take a few tries, but eventually he may leave the property. The other downside is you're really just driving him into your neighbor's property, and you don't know what's going to happen then. Either the neighbor will ignore him or he'll start using some sort of kill method. So there's really an unknown there. But of course, if you live in an area where your neighbors are far apart, all you have to do is drive him off the property and he's no longer a problem. Another thing you can do is use predator urine. Just spray this around the areas you want to keep the gophers away from. They smell this, they think there's a predator in the area, and they'll leave the area. Now it's not perfect, it won't work immediately. You will have to reapply. Every time it rains, every time you water, every time the sprinklers go off, you're going to have to reapply. And oftentimes when they first smell it, they'll hide underground for a few days before coming up. And of course you'll have to do this again, but eventually they'll get the hint and they'll leave. Now they have red fox urine and coyote urine. Now I don't really know which one works the best. I'm not really sure how I would test that. However, I do know that we don't have red foxes in the desert, so but we have lots of coyotes. So I've been switching to the coyote, hoping that might work better. Another thing you can do is use castor oil pellets. You sprinkle them around. When you water or it rains, they dissolve, and it makes the soil smell funny. So they'll leave that area alone. Now this is better for lawns. I wouldn't use that in your garden. So these are 3 good methods. Try all 3, see which one works for you. And in the next video, I'm going to be talking about growing microgreens and how to grow herbs for tea. So I'll see you in the next one.